Okay, what's up, guys? Welcome to our first show of Questionable Lock, where we give you fast bets free because it is indeed questionable. I am Taylor Stahl,
I'm Carson Marsh.
And I'm Sebastian Natashi.
and we are going to start off giving you guys a 2-minute warning on all of our takes for each of the sports this week. Carson, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, let's kick it off. So tonight we have a big game, Bengals versus Browns. Obviously, big game for Baker Mayfield. Didn't look too good in his first start last week. Definitely different from Joe Burrow. We saw Joe kind of come out and take it where he left off from LSU. And we saw a lot of good plays, and he was honestly one pulled hamstring from his kicker away from tying that game and going to overtime. So, Sebastian, I don't know. What are you thinking about some of these lines? Because I'm seeing +6, and 57% of the bettors are taking this, and pretty questionable. 68% are taking the money line at +215. What do you think about this?
Well, like you said, Burrow coming in hot just like he left off in college. Obviously, the Bengals, not a super talented team, but the Browns, there's a lot of expectations. You have guys like Odell, like Baker Mayfield, and I think they're going to come out hot tonight. They're going to be ready to play, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals, they're not, like you said, missed kick away from tying that game against the Chargers, potentially winning it in overtime. It's not going to be an easy one tonight. I think me personally, I'm taking that Browns 6-point spread. I don't know if the Bengals have enough to score with the Browns. Obviously, the Browns only put up 6 points last week, but it's a good game for them to get their offense going.
You know, it's interesting you bring up Odell. Odell actually had 3 receptions for 22 yards. Definitely a make-or-break game for him as well. This whole Browns team, 4 coaches in the 5 years that Baker's been there, never really had a whole consistent offensive scheme, and you got to wonder, this team with so much talent, is it going to survive? How crucial do you think this game is for Baker and for Odell moving forward through this season?
I think in their eyes, with no preseason, no warm-up, they're not really looking at it as a make-or-break game. For a lot of Browns fans and maybe Odell or Baker haters, this is a big one for them. You don't want to lose to the Bengals, team that just got the number 1 pick on a Thursday night football game. But I'm not the biggest Baker fan. I think that he misses, there's some problems with his decision-making and whether he's confident with the ball in the pocket, but he definitely has talent to make stuff happen. And a guy like Odell, same thing. If they can get him loose on a couple slants, he can make plays for big yards.
It's interesting. The offensive line for the Bengals, definitely not good. You see Burrow lined up against a good Chargers defensive front last week. He looked pretty good. He rushed for 1 rushing TD, and you got to question how Myles Garrett, as banged up as he may be, is going to be able to dominate that pocket tonight. And obviously the Bengals struggling against Lamar Jackson last week, being able to bounce around the pocket. One line I actually kind of like is the over for Joe Burrow, 237 yards at +115. What do you think about that as one of those player props? That's a kind of explosive.
Like you said, Joe Burrow, he's not going to shy away from the moment. Thursday night, I'm sure he's going to come out looking to send a message. The Bengals, the Browns are going to come in. They're going to come pressure them, like you said, a weaker offensive line. So the blitzes are going to be coming, and there's chances for Joe Burrow to, get a couple guys loose on the long ball. 237.5. I'm not too sure. I feel like this might be sort of a 21-6 kind of game. So, but they are going to put the ball in his hands a lot. It's not a bad call, but this one's questionable for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Questionable for me as well. I think the under on this game, though, might be one of those locks. I think it might just be one of those locks this week.
Sebastian, are you going for questionable or are you going for lock?
For the under, I will also be taking the lock.
All right. Now let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Chargers.
Kansas City Chiefs. So they opened as a -8.5 spread. Also, it got moved to -9. They're sitting at a -430 money line, $430 to 100. I'm all over this, Sebastian. I'm going to be honest, Taylor. This is one of those games I'm going to sit back, I'm going to place a bet, and I'm going to let it ride. We saw Kansas City literally pick it up from where they left off last year. We have Mahomes on a $500 million deal. He's got all the tools he needs to come back and repeat as Super Bowl champions. The Chiefs legitimately lost nobody except for Damon Williams and one of the guards, Guardy McGuardface. I don't know. Put anyone there. Mahomes is going to escape the pocket. He's going to make the big plays. -9 against the Texans, and they blew them out. You have the Chargers led by Tyrod Taylor, who didn't even look like he could make half of his throws last week. And, yeah, I'm just saying, this spread, if you want to make money this week, ride with me. I got a $300 bet on it. Sebastian, what do you think about this one?
I agree. I think anytime you can get the Chiefs under double digits on a spread, it's a pretty easy call to take them. The way they score the ball. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I believe his name is, rookie running back.
LSU
100 plus yards last week. Like you said, they didn't get weaker. They reloaded. They look like no one can stop them. They're playing with confidence. They don't look worried about anything. So another lock for me as well. I'm locking that one in.
Big time
Absolutely.
lock. Slam
All
the
right.
plus on it.
No questions here. All right, let's go to Lakers and Nuggets. See how
So
you guys
we'll
feel about
switch.
that one.
We'll switch sports over here. Obviously, the Nuggets coming off of a crazy 3-1 comeback win against the other team from Los Angeles. Really good stuff from them. Their second 3-1 comeback in the playoffs already. Obviously, down 3-1 to the Jazz and ended up winning that series in Game 7. Lakers 5 games. All it took was 5 games for them to take care of Houston. They're looking pretty good right now. Pretty solid on the defensive end and the offensive end. Looks like LeBron and AD are getting into rhythm, but the Lakers typically have been losing the first game. LeBron really has a history of losing game ones in series. They've lost 2 this year already to the Blazers and to the Rockets. And the Nuggets are coming off that 3-1 comeback, like we said. Who is going to be, for you, Carson, who's going to come out hotter in this game? Is it going to be the Nuggets rolling with the momentum that they had, or are the Lakers going to see what the Nuggets did to the Clippers and say, no, that's not happening to us?
So I'm going to have to lean Lakers here. And when I say lean, I mean hammer the Lakers. I'm talking 6 days rest for LeBron and Anthony Davis. Look, the Clippers, great team, right? Championship or bust expectations, obviously busted. They don't have a vocal leader on the court. When you have LeBron James, you have someone on the court who's a leader and a coach on the court. Look, you could argue that LeBron is the Doc Rivers and he's literally on the court. He doesn't have to listen to Frank. He doesn't need any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So my biggest question for, I guess, the Nuggets moving forward is who's going to guard if AD is going to be on Jokic, who's going to guard LeBron? And with 6 days of rest on this older Laker team, I just don't know how the Nuggets are going to keep up, and I like the -6.5 spread. I will be surprised if it didn't actually move up in days closer to the game.
I agree with you. I would also be taking the spread on that for the Lakers. Obviously worrisome losing those first 2 games, but now it's the Western Conference Finals. The slander that the Clippers just went through, I don't think the Lakers want any part of that. They're going to come out hot. And like you said, no one could guard AD. Really, no one could guard LeBron already. And the Lakers guards have done a really good job. Caruso, Rondo in the last series have really gotten into guys like Harden, guys like Lillard, guys like Westbrook. So it's not going to be easy for Jamal Murray by any stretch. He had a couple of games where he struggled even in that Clippers series when they got into him. So we'll see what they can do. They can't let him get hot, and they can't let Jokic start dictating the pace of play. If they start sending doubles at him, he's passing out of there all day. But I'm going to lock this one in, Lakers, as you see, to go up 1-0 tomorrow night. Finals bound. We'll see if it's the Celtics or the Heat, but I'm taking the Lakers tomorrow night in game 1.
Yeah, as you said, Lakers -550 series price. It's steep, but it's free money. People, it's free money. If you want free money, you're betting the Lakers. LeBron will not be denied on this Kobe miracle quest to get his 4th ring. And I wouldn't guarantee it, but I'm going to almost say it's a lock for that 4th ring. 2-3-1 series, great for the Nuggets. No discount on their season. You got to give them a lot of credit, but their season ends in a couple games.
And yeah, they just don't have enough to beat the Lakers, especially 4 times to beat LeBron and AD 4 times at this stage. It's going to be Jamal Murray might have to go for 60 every game. So we'll move on now, but Lakers looking like they're going to win that series in our eyes. Switch it up a little bit across the pond over to some football, some soccer in the English Premier League. Chelsea versus Liverpool on Sunday at 8:30. Lots of these Premier League games are very early in the morning. My club, Tottenham, they play at 4 in the morning on Sunday, so might not catch me tuned in there. But 1-0 so far for both Chelsea and Liverpool. Liverpool obviously coming off being the league champions, dominated the league last year. They started off the season this year 4-3 against newly promoted Leeds, kind of a surprise game there, back and forth. Offense looks like it hasn't missed a beat. Mo Salah hat trick, but the defense looking a little shaky, a little arrogant, honestly, with some of the mistakes they made. Chelsea spent lots of money this year trying to compete with Liverpool and Man City after they finished 3rd last year. over I think 200 million in signings this summer, which is a big price to spend. They started off well last week. Their debutants, both from Germany, played pretty well, but it's a big game coming up right now because these are points you have to take away from Liverpool if you're trying to win the league. What do you think, Carson?
Well, so Chelsea, or for Chelsea at least, if Pulisic is a late scratch, how do you think that's going to change their attack, especially against this Liverpool defense and Klopp's rotation?
Well, Chelsea, with Pulisic, he did it against them at the end of last year, destroyed Liverpool after coming on as a sub, goal and an assist.
American phenom.
Yeah, his confidence is just so big against a team like that, cutting in. They obviously have great wingers now, but they might be missing a couple others. I think that it's going to be definitely a defensive kind of game for them. You know how Liverpool like to play. They like to press, but they also will get after it on the counter. So Chelsea's, they have their hands full. Liverpool does everything well. Obviously, that's why they're the champions, and it's going to be a tough one, especially without Pulisic. So I'm taking Liverpool in this one. They just don't look like they can be beaten yet until someone beats them. So I'm going with Liverpool.
Over under set at 3.5, or excuse me, 3, and a Liverpool money line at plus 110. I'm going to have to agree with you on the money line aspect, except I'm going to say that this over total might push with a 2-1 Liverpool lead. What do you think? You take an over under or push?
I want to say the over because I don't trust Chelsea's defense that much, especially against a team like Liverpool. They already have 2 penalties this year. That they cause problems in the box, but I think I'll be taking the over on this one. I say 3-2 to Liverpool. Super fast-paced game.
Mo Salah coming off that hat trick last week. We might need to slam one of those player props for a goal in this game. Might be a good bet. Might be some free money right there.
Well, Ben Chilwell, Chelsea's new signing at left back, he's going to be, believe he's playing this weekend, so he'll be on Mo Salah. But on the other side, you have Sadio Mane, extremely good forward, finishes really well, clinical, and he's going to go up against Reece James, who I believe is 20 or 21 years old, obviously super talented, but that's more of the mismatch I think I'd look to exploit.
Some good matchups this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Join us next week for Questionable Lock. Taylor, if you want to sign us off, go ahead.
Well, before we end, I was going to ask if you guys have any advice, any main locks that you want to just lock of the week for you guys. Questionable lock of the week, whichever you prefer. What's your big game this weekend?
Well, my big game, like I said before, Kansas City. You can't get a better line than that. I got it at -8.5. If you want free money, take the money line. -9, while it may seem like it's kind of steep, they were -9 against a Texans team with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. You have Tyrod Taylor, who's arguably a backup in this league, and you're going to get Justin Herbert in there in a couple weeks with a coach that needs to win now. I'm saying I'm all over Kansas City. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, these LSU guys are just coming out of the gate firing. I think Sammy Watkins could have a big game. We saw him have a big game last week. We could have Tyreek Hill back in the mix, and you got a defense led by freaking the Honey Badger. Like, come on.
Sebastian?
I'm taking Lakers game 2 on Sunday. I don't think there's any chance they lose that one, especially if they're in those Mamba jerseys, which they have been for game 2s of the last few series. Those jerseys obviously bring some special power. And if the Lakers were to lose game 1, LeBron's not letting them lose game 2. And if they do win game 1, they're getting rid of the Nuggets. So I'm looking at the Lakers on Sunday, 4:30. Not sure what the spread is or any of the lines yet, but that's one I'm locking in.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Catch us next week for some recap and for our next weekend bets. Have fun with your questionable locks this week, and we hope you win some money, and we hope we do too.